So, over my time on YouTube, I've been delighted with the growth of the channel. We've managed to reach over 50,000 channel views, over 250 subscribers, and nearly 1,500 likes over on the TikTok page. Now, across the almost 30 videos I've uploaded, most of it has been pretty structured, almost video essay type content, and I'm always looking for new content to bring to the channel. And that is what I'm delighted to be starting today. I'd like to welcome everyone to the first episode of a new series I'm starting named Over the Bar. Less structured, more opinion-based type content. This idea came to me through what I consider to be one of the best aspects about following and supporting football. The conversations that come with your mates and other fans of clubs. These will mostly happen in the pub, in the stadium, at games, sometimes online. But one of my favourite places for footballing conversations and opinions is through the local five-a-side games. Everyone plays them, and that's exactly where this idea spawned for me. So I'm delighted for the first time to not be alone on this channel. I've invited one of my friends on from my local five-a-side group, basically to just share our opinions and have the conversations that we normally would at our games, but to document these and share them with you guys on this channel. So for the first time on this channel, I'm delighted to not be alone. Welcome on. I accept this can be quite a daunting first introduction.
That'll be fine.
So I'd like to start the first conversation on this, Aaron, by discussing a team that's kind of perplexing me at the moment. Manchester City, and specifically Pep Guardiola. I think we may have seen the peak of not only but definitely Pep's Manchester City side, but maybe Guardiola himself as a manager.
It does look to be like a bit out of ideas, so I can see where you're coming from. I think more sceptical than you to write him off, because I think I'm scared that it goes wrong and he
comes back to life.
But now, I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I would quite go as far as to be writing him off, but there's just something about him that doesn't look right. I don't know what it is. I think he's always had the label about him that he can't rebuild a team. However, it definitely not at Barcelona. I mean, he never had to rebuild a team at Barca. The team he had was so exceptionally good and also young. And he was not at Bayern anywhere near long enough to need to rebuild a team. But if you look at, there's so many players in his peak Man City team that I don't think he's replaced. I think the only two positions he's properly replaced is Aguero and Fernandinho with Haaland and Rodri. I mean, there's other talented players there, but they've not been the same animal for a few years now. I feel like you used to watch City and like maybe Guardiola's second, third, fourth, maybe fifth seasons at a push, and you just never thought you were ever getting anything off them. If anyone get anything off them, it was a miracle. Now I don't know. They're not the same animal anymore.
They don't seem as scary anymore. Like there's something. It's not there, and I think there's something to be said also for the players, because there's players there who, I mean, Phil Foden comes to mind as he won what Player of the Season. Yeah,
he won the PFA Player of the Year not that long ago.
Yeah. And then
he's dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
What's actually went wrong with his career does actually need to be studied a wee bit, because it does blow my mind slightly. Just because what's changed, what has actually changed in that Man City? Nothing tactically has changed. Guardiola never changes his tactics. It's always going to be the same thing no matter where he is. But what's changed? A lot of the time it is still the same players. Was he that reliant on De Bruyne and we all just didn't notice? Or is it Rodri? Does that entire midfield just crumble without Rodri?
It could be a bit of both. It also seems to be sort of maybe a mentality thing. Where sometimes when I'm watching their players, they don't seem to have the same confidence about them. They used to look like they believed they could do anything, and since they've been struggling, it's like that belief doesn't actually seem to be there with some of the players. And if you're bringing in new players, and then the ones who you're expecting to lead them can't even lead themselves.
Fucking embarrassing.
I think part of it's I think a big part of it's structurally. So if you look at when Foden came through, he was a 10 that also played on the wing. I mean, primarily the right side, but now it's sort of as if it's like Guardiola doesn't play a 10 anymore. Maybe you could say, maybe you would argue he never did. I would say he did at the start, but it feels as if Guardiola wants him to play the De Bruyne role, where he comes really deep and sort of everything builds through him in an attacking sense. He doesn't have that in him at all. But this, I don't know, the season that he won the PFA Player of the Year, I feel like he was just, there was no reliance on him to do anything other than cause a defence problems. And now, whenever you see him come on, I don't believe that a player that's just won the PFA Player of the Year could have such a drop in confidence. It must be tactically, and I can't understand where it's coming from. And just Man City as a whole, I mean, I personally think Guardiola's quite a boring manager. I think he wins a lot and it's good to watch a team win and score lots of goals, but I think just his brand of football is pretty boring. And don't get me wrong, it suits Rodri to a T. Haaland, you know, his numbers are ridiculous. But I think since the wingers have changed, since like Mahrez and Sterling, kind of Sané as well, I mean, Savinho and Doku just aren't the same animal at all.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as fuck, in my opinion. I mean,
yeah, Doku really lacks like sort of like an end product. Like, he's very good at going past his man, but he almost almost gets himself trapped in like a corner, or he does the difficult bit, and then you're expecting, like, there's been so many times where I can think specifically against when I watched him against Trent last season, and he must have went past Trent I think 11 times in that game, but nothing really came of it. Like,
yeah, you would have to imagine if Sané, Sterling or Mahrez gets past a fullback 11 times, there's a goal, he's involved in a goal.
Yeah, like, and I think it's crazy because it's like, where do you fault Doku? Because yes, he's taking on his man, he's beating him, but then it's like, sometimes it's like I can't quite put my finger on what. Like, sometimes it's just a poor shot, sometimes it's poor decision making, and then sometimes it's actually, I think he maybe takes on too much. But then they also fall victim to the complete opposite problem when they had Grealish there, which was he would run to his man, he would turn around, then he would pass the ball.
Yeah, Grealish was criticised for not being expressive enough. Doku is very expressive, but just has no end product at all to his game.
Yeah.
A good thing of you mentioning Grealish there, that kindly works us into our second topic here, which is the big money signings that's happening nowadays. Can anyone actually ever justify it?
So this is a point that I've thought about, and like watching like transfer records being broke over the summer, and every summer it seems like there's a player going for like 100 million plus, who, like, some of them completely have maybe earned that price tag, but I don't think a player can ever actually live up to that sort of price tag. See, no matter what they achieve, because you look at a player like, the most expensive player ever is still Neymar to PSG. Yes, and the thing is, Neymar's a complete world-class player, and I don't think he could have ever, like, he could have won the Ballon d'Or there, and I still don't think it would ever justify a price tag like that.
Oh, no one ever really can.
Yeah, but you've always got that hanging over with players where it's like, it's always like a fallback. It's like, oh well, you expect that, you spent 100 million on them, of course.
Yeah, it depends on the club as well. So two points to that. So one of the big examples I can remember, see when Pogba went to United, and it was like this, oh my god, 100 million euros or whatever it was. I can remember everyone saying at the time, and it was like, no matter what he does, he'll never justify that. And now it's like not even a thing. So like, again, it depends on the transfer, it depends on the player as to how much it's held over their head. So Grealish, for example, it never left his head, whereas like your Caicedos and Enzo Fernandez's, they're like barely ever really mentioned. That's just like, yeah, they're great midfielders, and they're never hit with this bandwagon of, well, you cost a fortune because Chelsea just spend a fortune. And then you get situations where, I
think there's also like something to be said for like Caicedo, and that had like I think the fun was kind of made with that in the first season with Caicedo, where he got injured and they were like, oh, 100 odd million for a player that doesn't, and then he turned out to be phenomenal. But then people do just fall back on, like, they've got that easy argument to fall back on as like a rival fan to say, well, of course it was 16 million.
Yeah, it cost 100 odd million. I think as well, there's different situations. So let's see an example I would look at, right? Alexander Isaacs went to Liverpool for a British record transfer fee. All the eyes are on him. Now, I personally think he will live up to that. I think he'll do really well. But he's taken so many eyes off of someone like Hugo Ekitike, who equally had an enormous transfer fee around him. And
for what he'd done at the time.
I think that's another huge part of it. It's when players have like one good season, but they're obviously on long-term contracts, and then clubs come in to buy them, and the club that owns them, rightly so, like hacks the price all the way up. They're perfectly entitled to do that.
Yeah,
but teams will pay that. There is definitely a Premier League tax. That is 100% part of it. I mean, again though, sometimes it depends kind of heavily on where the player's coming from. Like, you look at someone like Florian Wirtz, and that has to be justified. The guy like won the league with Leverkusen, reached the Europa final, some of the first trophies in the club's history, all the like goals and assists he got. Like he was incredible. He was insane. The fee that was paid for him like totally warranted it. But then you turn around and you go, does Ekitike warrant slightly less than that? Because yeah, he was really good for Frankfurt last season, but it was only really one season, and before then he was being outshadowed by Marmoush.
Not about money, it's about sending a message.
Yeah, it is strange. It also is, I think, because Ekitike is a number 9. There's this weird value on number 9s, regardless.
Oh, believe me, I know.
They can be a terrible number 9, and they still, or like they've played one good game as a number 9, and all of a sudden it's like 50 million minimum.
Yeah, it's another weird thing is the trend that the guy before you set. So there was loads of outcry, for example, when Van Dijk went to Liverpool. I know that was years ago now, but it was like 75 million on a centre back. That's insane. That's incredible. How can you spend that much money? Did Vardiol and people like that not go for like 60, 65?
Yeah.
And no one batted an eyelid. And that was within like 5 years of Van Dijk going, and it's gone from like, this is egregious, this is incredible, how are you justifying this amount of money, this guy better win the Ballon d'Or, which he nearly did, to Vardiol's went for 70. Oh well.
Yeah, it is weird, and I think it shows the current market
the current market's atrocious.
It's kind of scary. But I just don't think a player can ever live up to it. Like, I think, see, when you look at like, oh, this player is a world-class player, I think it actually it's better when they're like a world-class player who was signed for like 30 million and they've made their name. Like, it just seems so much better of a story.
Yeah, I mean, look at Salah.
Yeah, like, I think he was 35 million.
Yeah, he was about 35 million, but even then that was at a time where there was high fees going around. Like,
yeah, true.
Yeah, like if you were to buy a player of Salah's quality from a team like Roma right now, what he was when he was at Roma, that's still going to be a 65 million pound signing.
Yeah.
Whereas at the time it was 30. That was, around the middle ground, maybe slightly low, but he came in and everything he's done, and you sort of go, there is so much more to enjoy from Salah than spending like, I don't know, 200 million on Haaland and him going and scoring 150 goals in 190 games, and you go, well, yeah, it's Haaland. You look at all the money you spent, obviously he was going to do that.
Only players I would say is, like, and he was actually cheaper than I thought he should have been.
Yeah, cause his release clause.
Yeah, it was to do with that, but he's one of the very few players who I actually look at and go, yeah, they live up to.
He was definitely worth that money.
But then he was it was about the same price as Grealish, and it's like, look at the complete difference between not even what they achieved, because they were at the same club, they achieved the same trophies, but like their actual output and what they meant to that team is like, you could have put a different player, I feel like, in Grealish's position, and they would have still achieved, but you couldn't have put somebody else in there instead of Haaland.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. And it does show as well, because Grealish's price tag ruined him at Man City. He was so highly valued just because of that fee. And then the minute he was boring at City, he was locked down at City, he had no creativity there. But the minute he's gone back to Everton, he's came back to, well, I say back to Everton, the minute he's gone to Everton, he's came back to life.
Again, back to the Pep Guardiola of like play in my system.
Play in my system or leave, which
And I do think it's, and I've touched on this just talking to you before, but like Manchester United have a huge habit of buying players who have had that one incredible season or one good season, but it's like they're the star of the team, whereas they're coming into a team with other players about their level, and they're no longer maybe that star of the team. And I think Grealish is probably a great example of that, because it was get the ball to Grealish when he was at Villa. It was get the ball to him. He's going to do something. Like, this is your target man. Whereas there's like 4 or 5 people above Grealish in the pecking order, even when he was at his best at City. And I feel like different players are going to struggle with that sort of, oh, it's not me, I need to get the ball to somebody else now. Oh, I'm not this. Oh, I'm going to get shunned for this. It's a lot more pressure when you're... I think it's easier to be the star man at a smaller team when you're the best player on the pitch for them by far, than being just a player at a City or a Liverpool or a Chelsea, where there's lots of players who are...
Oh yeah, it's definitely easier to look better and on paper a worse team just because you're the standout of quality.
But I think that's where a lot of these price tags, I think actually that kind of sums it up quite well actually. It seems to be players who are at maybe worse teams, and they're that star man coming into a bigger team, and they've paid this huge fee because it's like, oh, it's justified, look what he did at this team, and then he comes into the bigger team and all of a sudden it's, what do we do?
You're no longer a big fish in a little pond. You're a correctly sized fish in a correctly sized pond. You don't stand out anymore. You're just there.
Yeah, I feel like you can get away with less as well, because there's other players around you who are seen as more established and better. And I think
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Grealish was brilliant at Villa, but he was never like De Bruyne. He was never that level. But he was getting the De Bruyne price tags. No, he was never anywhere near that.
What was De Bruyne's actual cost?
De Bruyne was bought years before it, and I think he was around about 55. I want to say.
I think you might
We can
be right.
fact check that. We can fact check that.
I am fact checking this now. I will tell you.
54 million euros. Pounds, sorry.
55 million pounds, 76 million euros. And just for earlier on, we were talking about Pogba. He was 89 million, which is actually crazy to think about now, because 89 million gets you a Hugo Ekitike.
I know. And again, Pogba and De Bruyne were like some of the hottest talents in the world when they were getting bought.
Going to be paying like $1 billion soon for like your average Joe.
Well, see how all the Spanish clubs have like £1 billion release clauses for everyone. There's going to come a time where teams are like, yeah, I'll take that.
PSG, 100%. But they are going to be,
mate, there's going to be a day where West Brom are chucking in like, listen, 800 million. I'm not quite going as far as the billion, just 850 million. Just come on over here.
Jamal to West Brom for
Jamal to West Brom in 10 years.
It is a crazy market. It just shows how the market's evolved though. But it's like, when does it stop? Is it going to stop? Because there's going to be a point where players are worth more than a team.
Oh no, definitely. There's going to be a point where the gap is too big and it crashes. The market will crash one day, and that day will be a very interesting day.
Pay your bets. Next 10 years.
Gambling is good!
Next 10 years, global footballing transfer market crash.
2035.
Stick a bet on it right now. You will get even money.
Breaking news. Chelsea have just sold their entire squad to buy Ronaldo, who's coming back to the Premier League.
Breaking news, Chelsea have just sold Chelsea to Chelsea and can now afford Messi again.
Yeah. It is becoming like that, and it's also there's a lot to be said for all the shady business that goes on in football, whether it's legal or not legal.
Oh,
It's still shady.
let's not pretend any of it's legal.
My lord, is that legal?
There's so much under the table, just don't pay attention going on. And just talking about Guardiola ruining players like Grealish, that kind of brings me on to today's last topic. There's something to be said about this obsession with hiring managers that have a set system. And the example that I would use is, people like David Moyes are seen as such unattractive appointments. I mean, unless you're Everton, if you're any other team in the league, appointing David Moyes is so unattractive. But people like Graham Potter just keep walking into jobs. And I'm sorry, but Graham Potter's crap.
Yeah, I love Graham Potter because he's never managed a team I support. But you can't say the same.
I unfortunately can't say the same. Those were some hard years. Those were some really hard years.
He's got to be. It is crazy because it's not like, I think it's weird that managers almost think they have to play a certain style, like, and that makes him a good manager. Because Graham Potter was okay when he was at Brighton, and then he went to but it's like he's good with these certain players, and then it changed. Like, he's not a good manager, and there's lots of people like that, and it's maybe unfair to say that they're bad managers, but it's strange that like managers with like no CVs whatsoever going to big clubs. Vincent Kompany got relegated and went to Bayern.
Oh yeah, that done my absolute nothing.
Crazy. And he won the league like with Bayern, so it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
like,
but
he literally got hired for a start. Yeah, no, it's winning the league with Bayern, and I don't know how much of an achievement that really is.
yes,
I couldn't do it, but what I'm saying,
I'd like to think I could. I reckon I could give it a go.
I couldn't.
I reckon I could. I think I could do that with Harry Kane. Yeah, I could do that. But there is definitely, as you said, there's got to be something that's said for this, because see, if you think back to like, let's look at like the mid 2000s heading into the 2010s, right? See if I proposed a manager to you who only played one style of football, and no matter what happens in the game, they ain't changing that style of football, you wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot barge pole, because you'd say, well, that's a terrible manager.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's like, and it is this, like you were talking about Pep Guardiola, and earlier on you were saying that he plays quite a boring style of football. I personally don't fully agree with that. I quite enjoy, I love watching that Barcelona team. That might have more testament to the players, but it's almost like managers of like Sunday league teams trying to play the Pep Guardiola style. Wait, I'm like, you don't have Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta, Messi. But why? Like, that worked very
and
well.
Interestingly,
the certain players that were there, it doesn't work when you're playing with Southampton.
Interestingly that you say that. John Terry actually recently done an interview that I found really interesting. I've only seen a few clips of it, but he kind of addressed that, where it was like, he's done some meetings and some job interviews with some like EFL clubs, and they're all saying, you know, what style of football do you want to play? Like, kind of what you're hinting at, where they kind of want to play attacking, passing out from the back football. And you know, he said in this interview, he's like, that's just never going to work. Like, what are you doing? You don't have the players for that. And I see, when I say I think Guardiola is very boring to watch, it's very unfair of me to say that, because you're right, that Barcelona team was the best team in my lifetime that I've ever seen. That Bayern team was phenomenal fun to watch, and even at the start under City, he was great to watch. I think a more accurate way of me saying that would be, he's became boring to watch. I don't find Manchester City fun anymore. I haven't found them fun for a few years now.
I think he's actually, it's weird, it's almost like, and obviously this is pure speculation, this has no facts to back it up whatsoever.
And we will take it as factually regardless.
Yeah. It's almost as if he's overmanaged himself, where it's like he's fine-tuned his system, and then he's fine-tuned it a bit more, and it's got to the point where it's like, they're just like, the one that specifically comes to mind last season was City Arsenal, start of the season, and it was, for about 30 minutes I watched them pass the ball around the 18-yard box, because Arsenal were a player down. Yes, they were parting the bus, but they were pass, just around the box over and over again, and then Kyle Walker would scud a shot over the bar, and then it would reset, Arsenal would kick the ball up the pitch, and then it's pass, and I'm like, so this, I'm like, why is he not changing anything? Like, do something different. Like, there's got to be, like,
there has to be some mix.
They did score actually, and it was from exactly what like the commentators were saying it for about 30 minutes, and the commentators are very rarely right tactically, I don't think, but it was like, have somebody like cut inside. Why are you trying to, like, you're not going to pass through this team of 10 defenders, because that's all Arteta.
Yeah, that Arteta just buys, you know, 2 wingers, 1 striker, and then the rest is holding midfielders.
Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
Yeah, but it is like crazy that it's became this sort of like Ange is another one last season where it's like, this is how we play. Play something different. You've got no, but they're like,
You've lost 22 league games. What are you doing?
yeah, play different. Amarin is the other example.
Well, let's look at the other side of it, right? Because these managers keep getting jobs. I mean, I seen today that Postecoglou is linked with the Bayer Leverkusen job, right? Why is it that only the attacking managers who refuse to change their system, take some heavy losses and seriously underachieve, keep walking into jobs, but overachieving, pragmatic, defensive managers are constantly looked down on? If you hired Sean Dyche in the Premier League in 2025, you'd be a laughingstock. I'm sorry, he is no different from Postecoglou. They're two sides to the same coin. One only plays attacking football, one only plays defensive football, and I'm sorry Sean Dyche has achieved more in English football than Postecoglou.
I think Ange was very lucky to win that trophy. It does actually go down as quite a cold quote where he's like, I always win trophies my second season. I still respect that and think it's quite funny to this day. But it was the worst final I've ever watched in my life.
That final honestly could be used as a form of torture.
That was I put a comment on a video and it's what I said is still stuck with me this day. It was very much a stoppable force meets a very movable object.
It is. It really has questioned Newton's third law of physics, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is one of the weird. It was incredible.
What do you do if someone who wants to lose comes up against someone who doesn't want to win?
yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, and that's kind of, it's a weird direction that football's going in, because let's say you call it Arteta doesn't win anything at Arsenal, right? I guarantee he will walk into like a top team, and it's like, why?
Yeah, I mean,
whereas look at who's Crystal Palace's manager?
Oliver Glasner.
Yeah,
I think he is hot property though. I think Oliver Glasner is hot property.
Now he's hot property, but it's like people regard that. Like I hear debates between fans online and stuff, and it's like, Arteta or Slot. For a while it was Arteta had a harder job to do than Klopp, and I'm like, they're not the same. Why are they getting compared? And it's like, Arteta does have a bit more adaptability to his style, to be honest. But it's like, he doesn't have this. He doesn't have anyway need as much adaptability as somebody like Slot. I think that's Slot's biggest strength.
Oh yeah, Slot can change. Slot's biggest strength is he doesn't have one set tactic.
I've watched him play like 3 formations in one game.
Yeah, that's what really works. That's what really works in Slot's favour. Whereas you do get someone like you get lots of sides of it. I think you get managers like Slot who can play multiple systems. Then you get like Postecoglou, Dyche, Arteta. I've failed to think of another one off the top of my head who like have one set system and just refuse to change. Then you've got like, I would say Guardiola and Maresca sort of have a brand of football and refuse to change that, as opposed to like a system or a formation. Yeah,
like I think, see, and this is quite nicely actually round back to the beginning of the video. So I think Guardiola might bounce, but maybe at a different club. Maybe it might be after a break and he needs to stop digging his nails into his head.
I don't know, that is quite peak entertainment for as bad as I feel for the guy.
Yeah, like, you can see that he's maybe just a bit out of ideas, and he has like what he's achieved, and he's honestly not that long a managerial career is pretty astonishing. But it's like he does need like players who are the top class in their ability, and I think it also a bit of credit to him is if he gets a specific player in, like a Rodri, like a De Bruyne, he gets the absolute maximum out of them. But it's like he needs a specific sort of player, and I think that's
he needs Spanish players,
and he can't. But he can't seem to get that out of like maybe his current squad or get like things going. And I think it's a lot also that we said for City's defence. And watch this, they could go and just walk the title this year, and this will age like
milk, exactly.
But I think it does look a bit stuck this now.
Just on, and I think this would be a good poll to include in the video. I think when Guardiola moves on from Manchester City, he will half retire. I think he'll hang about until he gets the Spain gig, and that will be the last he does in football. He can't go back. He won't go back to Germany. I don't think he can be bothered going back to Spain. He certainly won't touch England again. There's no point in touching France, and I think his style of football would crumble in Italy. For as much as he's probably got an amazing record in Europe against Italian teams, I think if you put him in Italy where it's week in, week out, I don't think that's working.
Maybe, but the flip side of that is, just to make a counterpoint and to play a bit of devil's advocate to you there, what if he goes to Italy and then he turns Italy into basically what the Premier League's became? Because
Then
the Premier League, I think, because of Guardiola, has evolved into this like style, like attacking football. Like, it needs to be attacking football, and that's why it's a very attacking league.
If I'm honest,
He just goes to Italy and flips it.
if he goes to Italy and flips it, then honestly, fair enough to the guy, because his influence is crazy. That is aura farming at its peak. But I actually can't wait for him to leave the Premier League. I'm so bored of like just pass. Like, I've watched some City clips, and it's like, they're just
said recently that you find them more boring than Arteta.
I actually do. See, even though Arteta's style of football is atrocious, it is actually crimes against football. At least it's like bad. Like, Guardiola isn't bad, he's just nothing. He just passes so much. He's okay defensively, and he's got some big autistic kid up front that scores hundreds of goals. Like, yeah, they're a great team. They just lack so much soul. Arteta's team plays rotten football. Their strikers wearing clogs, but it's got so much soul. Every time they get a corner, you shit yourself.
Well, I say that when I was watching Liverpool and they got a shitload of corners and did fuck all, but that's besides the point.
Well, it has to happen eventually.
I'm a Liverpool fan, but that's where the bias is coming in from.
I feel like you can do that right now because you're on track for a second league title, whereas I'll just keep quiet.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to win the Conference League.
Same.
The Conference League has always been in my top ambitions. From the minute it was released, I thought, I need to see someone lift that. I need to see my team lift that.
Cole Palmer.
I need to see Cole Palmer put the man of the match trophy down his pants.
Well, they're in the Champions League now, so you might get to watch them lift that.